All right, this is a special meeting of the Parks Board, so I will refrain from any minutes or any questions, and I will try to follow along with the usual thing about, first off, let's have a pledge of allegiance. You want to lead us?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Who said that? I appreciate it. Thanks, Bobby. All right, and then what I'd like to do here, we have a request for a thing here. We also have a citizen's comment here as well. So I'm going to dispense with regular rules, and if the gentleman would like to speak to the board, go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Eddie Robertson, and I'm a city alderman of Ward 6.
Push that button there, sir.
Know that.
There you go. Thank you, bud.
Most people turn the button off on me. So, but again, my name is Eddie Robertson. I'm an alderman in Ward 6, and today I received a phone call from Miss Debbie Lewis. Debbie Lewis lives on Arrowhead Drive, which is right beside the park, Arrowhead Park. And she raised some complaints with me. I'm not going to get into the complaints. I've given the chairman and Mr. Gilley a copy of her comments that she emailed to me. Her specific issue, though, with me today was that she did not feel that there was sufficient notice of this meeting so that citizens could come out and raise their concerns with this board. And so she said that it was, less than 24-hour notice. I don't know if that's true or not. Staff would be able to verify that or not. But she said there are several residents that would like to come out because these all-night tournaments do disturb their peace and quiet. And they would like to come out and outline these issues and maybe try to come up with some solutions with this board. They don't want to eliminate the tournaments or the inline hockey. They just have some concerns about the noise, the lights, and the all-night affair with them keeping them up at night. So what I would like to propose, Mr. Chairman and board members, is that you go ahead and do your business tonight and listen to the presentation, but don't take any action and ask staff to set up another meeting and send notice out as we do, and I'll notify the residents that would like to come, and just to allow them to come and express their point of view and see if there's anything that can be done to address at least some of those concerns. Okay. So I'm here to answer any questions. You have her complaint in front of you. So that's all that I request for you to consider doing tonight.
I do have a question. Was she the only resident that you heard from, or have you heard complaints from other residents? You don't have to name them, but were there other complaints?
Yeah, I just received Kathy Lothan. She lives also at on Arrowhead Drive. Kathy Oliver.
Oh.
Kathy Oliver.
And is it the lights, the noise, or both?
It's the both, and it's she says at times they go on to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And the lights that light up the field and the top of the roof on the hockey, she said that is distracting. And the noise from the tournaments, I don't live near them, so I don't know. But that's what both of them are suggesting. And, but again, that's for this board to consider. But I do think her request to have another time where citizens can come in so you can hear those and make an informed decision on, how to move forward on these is a good idea. We always want to give citizens the opportunity to express their issues. And Mr. Gilley may have talked to her and can amplify that, but that's what I've understood from her today.
Mr. Gilley, would you like to weigh in on this before?
The only thing I would add is that I've heard through Mr. Robertson, and I've heard through Mr. Bradley and through Mr. Brown, the same person has contacted them. One thing I will correct is there was over 24 hours notice given of this meeting, and it was done through Ms. Miller, the executive secretary, and sent out to BOMA and the Parks Board and everyone she sends out all meeting notices to. So that for sure was done, to my knowledge, in a proper manner. No, not to my. I'll look at my staff because we were all kind of all out of the office today. This is the only complaint that I've had today on this. Not saying that if others knew more or had more time, they wouldn't be here. So that's why we're here, is to. This tournament had been on way before my time at another park. You could have considered it a recurring event, but it is moving locations. So anytime we have a major change like that, I think it's prudent that this board votes on these events. So that's why it's in front of you all tonight, or can be in front of you whenever you so choose. Mr. Hoffman's here with the hockey group. You have the application. Certainly have Mr. Robertson's request to kind of put this off. I don't know if Friday or next week, or it's a holiday week next week for everybody. What would be?
I think that the date is the board's decision.
Yeah.
You pick a date that's convenient for you, and I'll let the residents know that have contacted me, and then it's up to them for if they can make it or not. But I think that's a very great offer to give them, this opportunity if they want to take advantage of it, and I'm sure they will. It's not going to pack out the room, I don't believe, but they're likely to be 4 or 5 that live right on that. Let's say, I guess it's the west side of Arrowhead.
Randy, just going through, look, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Is there anything that we can do to help buffer the noise or change the direction of the lights or anything? Oh, I'm sorry, you need to go to the podium so we can hear you.
Let's hold on one second before
Yes, sir.
you do that.
Yes, sir.
Let's get through with him before we
Okay.
bring him up here. Mr. Giddy, let me ask you a question. How many times a year is this tournament?
They hadn't been able to have it since I've been the director.
Okay,
So
but should
as far as I
they be
know,
able-
it's once a year
Okay.
in the past.
As far as you know, are we following all the rules and regulations that's put forth by Mr. Bradley and everybody else?
I mean, you're following the rules if you approve it, you're following the rules allowing you to approve things. It certainly goes beyond the time when a park is normally closed, but I think you all have the authority to allow things like that.
Question. Has there been a complaint on any of the tournaments that we've had since we've opened the venue? The venue was opened in December of last year. We had a tournament that went way into the evening. Then we had the Wish Cup that went way into the evening. Did City Hall, Parks Department, or anyone receive a complaint from anybody in the neighborhood regarding those tournaments that went into 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning?
I received one complaint from the same constituent through our city attorney regarding the last Wish Cup that went till, I think we had a game go till 1 in the morning. So that's the only one I've heard in our office.
Any other questions, this gentleman?
That was going to be my question, if there'd been complaints before about this tournament and where it was held before, that it's going to be this year.
I was not here when it happened at the other park, so I don't know if anybody, I don't know that I can answer that
Okay.
question.
It used to be at the volunteer park behind Sam's Club, the inline.
Right, okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, sir. State your name and state your case, sir.
My name is Randy Hoffman. I am with the Hendersonville Inline Hockey Association. I've been in front of you guys before. I want to start off by thanking you for having this meeting tonight. I'm going to take the blame, as it's already been mentioned. The last time that we've asked for this tournament, I think, was 7 years ago. at the older rinks. One, with the flood and the weather, the same reason we couldn't have other tournaments, we decided to just stop doing the tournament, especially when we went down to just one rink. When this was brought up by our board, maybe a month or so ago, it's been talked about for a bit now, but when it was brought up, I volunteered to take the lead because honestly, I am the only one on our board currently that was around when the last tournament, all-night tournament. All of them have heard the stories. The Wish Cup that was mentioned earlier, I still refer to them as our kids, but our kids that are now young adults and were playing in that tournament, I can't tell you how many of those kids came up to me and asked me when we're going to have the all-night tournament. They're not kids anymore. They're young adults. I think that Jill could speak of it. Her boys have played in it. It is a wonderful experience for the kids. And essentially and so I volunteered to let me finish that. I volunteered to take on the role of kind of leading the charge for this tournament. I did not realize when I committed to doing it that the meeting was this past Monday, and I was on vacation. And so I notified Dave, who is currently the president of the board, and he stepped in for me, but there were some things that were missed, and I'll take the blame, including the application, which is why we weren't heard on Monday. So I do appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me today. I'm not sure how much you guys want to hear about the tournament that I haven't already told you, but I will tell you it is our largest fundraiser. As a board and as a league, that's how we used to raise money for ourselves. We have had the benefit of having these other tournaments. They bring in decent money for us, but this is solely, usually we take a cut of what the tournament director brings in. We host the tournament. It's voluntary board. All the board members are out there working the tournament, doing what they need to do, and all that money goes back into our coffers as a league. And Andy and his guys can attest to this. There's a lot of ongoing expenses that we need to cover that we're still picking up. And so any fundraiser is helpful for us as it is for any small league. This tournament is a tournament that we've done in the past, and it is primarily for the kids, but we will have an adult division. It is generally run about a 24-hour period. We could start in late afternoon or early evening on a Friday, and we'll roll through the night. And literally kids, we'll change the schedule so that the younger kids aren't in the middle of the night, but 12, 14-year-old kids, they're getting woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, so let's go boys or girls, let's play. Coaches are, sleeping in the back of their cars. Kids are sleeping in tents or Enos. It's an incredible experience for the kids, and it's a bonding experience. Plus, it's a major fundraiser for us. With all due respect to Miss Lewis and others, to Andy's point earlier, I think we've hosted 4 tournaments to date. This last one was probably the most successful, the Wish Cup, and it did go late. As with any tournament, you have delays between games. We had an injury, actually, I think it was a broken leg or something. That delayed games for quite a bit. So we did go a little later than we normally would or that we had asked for at that application. This tournament is unique. This tournament is a 24-hour tournament. If you take away the all-night aspect of this tournament, it's just another tournament, and we compete with all the guys that we already bring in and that we try to raise money with. And so if we limit the hours, if we do anything differently than what we propose, I would go back to our board and probably just, tell them we'll have to find a different fundraiser. And I'm not saying that as a challenge, I'm just saying the uniqueness of this tournament is the fact that it's an all-night tournament. It's 24 hours. Usually it doesn't even go 24 hours. It's like maybe till noon the next day, depends on how many teams we get. We know that there's tremendous interest in it because of just word of mouth. And so we as a board would love to work with the Parks Department in trying to come up with some ways that we may be able to lessen what Miss Lewis and her neighbors are dealing with. Maybe, I don't even know if the scoreboards have a volume control, so we can, things that we could try to muffle, or we don't control the lights. If there's a way to, we can't, I wouldn't suggest turning down the lights inside the rinks, but maybe outside the soccer fields, maybe there's a way we can separate those lights and not light up the soccer fields. I don't know, but we'd be more than willing to work with you. But the other thing that's important is, again, timing is an issue for us because we're competing with other tournaments that we've already scheduled. We're competing with kids going away to college. Those young adults that I was just mentioning would love an opportunity to do this. And so we came up with that weekend to not compete with other tournaments, try to come up with it so that it was before the kids go back to college and or school and becomes an issue. And I know here locally, I think we're just starting school, but that's what, again, another reason why we're doing it on a Friday night instead of a Saturday, give them basically Saturday and Sunday to recuperate if they do play. So if we do delay this another week, we're already, just a month away. And I don't mean this with any disrespect, but you already know what those citizens are going to say. They're not going to come up here with positive comments. They're going to come up and have complaints. So I'd rather just try to deal with those as a league, working with Parks Department for this tournament or other tournaments in the future. Because if we back to that same issue, whether we go, it's really hard to host a hockey tournament and not go into midnight especially if you're having adults. We have an issue that we're still dealing with on the rinks with condensation in the morning, so we can't start early, and so that limits our playing capacity time frame. So anyway, that's me speaking and giving our side of everything. I'm here for answer any questions, and I do again appreciate you guys taking your time on tonight off of your busy schedules.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I have a question for Andy too. Is there any sort of buffer between these homes and the inline rink? I can't remember.
I mean, no, there's no trees or, it's just across the street, down the street and across. It's not a whole, I'm not exactly sure which exact home these are, but the ones to the left, there's a buffer between the rinks and the homes immediately beside the park.
Okay.
There's tree lines and things, but I believe these would be possibly across the street. So,
Excuse me for interrupting, but if I heard Alderman Robertson correctly, it's Arrowhead Drive. Isn't that on the other side of isn't that office stop 30?
I'm not 100% sure where it's off
It
Dirt
is off
Street,
Dirt
I
Street,
think.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to know, because especially with being a special event, are these this is local players, or are you bringing in players
No,
from
we'll
other
be
cities?
bringing players in from others.
So I just bring that up as a point of you're looking at 4 weeks. So if people are making travel and stuff, it's just a personal opinion, just from running those other tournaments. You're looking at 4-week turnaround. So if they're going to get hotels or anything like that, pushing it back any other time, I mean, I feel like you got to take that in consideration too, because now you're playing with people's travel schedules as well. So
Can you
Jimmy?
turn off the lights to the soccer field and still have lights to the ring?
yes,
Yes.
So that is one thing we could do right there, and I believe you can, if I remember the scoreboards correctly, you can run the scoreboard and not turn the horn on. It'd just be a 0 clock at the end of the game. So that would eliminate the horn sound.
I'm not 100% sure you can do that, but I would think you can, but I don't want to guarantee
Well,
that.
I'm just saying we could check that, but that's two things you could do for noise, to reduce the noise and light, significantly, the lighting with no lights on at the soccer field. So, and I'm sure that we could probably come up with a couple more ideas from the board and from HI on trying to reduce the noise.
Yeah, and again, I'm not opposed to y'all hearing citizens' complaints. I don't want to come across that way. I'm just saying that from a timing perspective, this is kind of where we narrowed down the date. And with it being a holiday week, if we push it off another week, it becomes, I'm not sure if it's going to be a successful event. And then we just have to kick it off to next year probably. And so maybe we could still have the citizens' comments and then take that list and work collectively on trying to address as many of those things as we can. To Mr. Head's suggestion, I don't know about the horns either, but if, I'm sure there's a way we can check that out if within the next 4 to 5 weeks. I think the lights being off at the soccer field would make a big difference, at least coming around that corner. I don't know if I've been out there when the soccer lights haven't been on, so I don't know what kind of effect that would have. But we as a league would be willing to do anything we can, but we can't stop the noise. We can't stop the whistles. We can't stop the pucks from hitting the glass or the boards. And so,
People cheering.
or people cheering, especially when it's just. I know you all haven't, but if we are fortunate enough to host this event, y'all have to come out and see it. It is truly a special event, and we take pride in it, and have for years. And it's really to be able to think about having it again is something special.
Okay, I've got a question.
Sir.
No, I just wanted to reiterate, and everything that Randy has said is true. It is unlike most of the tournaments that I've seen held here in Hendersonville, and the camaraderie with the kids. It's just something, it's a really good thing for them to experience. It's teammates, it's making new friends, it's running around the park and watching the other teams, and sometimes you're booing the other team, sometimes hopefully you're cheering on the team. But it really is, and it's a good core group that's running that program. And I don't have any problems approving this tonight and going forward with it, given the past history of the tournament and the personnel that have run it. But I would ask that they do so by, in doing so, that they would take special consideration of the requests made by the residents in that area, and just maybe, I don't know, I would be glad to go out and help meet with them as a representative of the board or whatever, and just assure them that we're doing everything we can to make it as peaceful as we can.
Yes.
But there's going to be we can't do everything, but we will do what we can.
Well, thank you.
Because the only thing about it is we've already had applications for future events. And, Alderman Robertson, I just wanted you to be able to relay this as well. We've already had applications for future hockey tournaments. Them 2 of those being ones that did go later. So the definition of what's late to us is going to be different to your constituents, what late is to them. And so regardless of this event or not, we're going to come back to the same thing with all these other tournaments. So I do take that into consideration, because we'd have to go back and tell these other tournaments now, like, what is that time, if there is a time. Because I can tell you, after the Wish Cup win with the celebrities they had here that were sharing it on their social media, I've had 2 Major League Lacrosse teams asking to use our space in the last week, one from San Diego. So I'm just saying this, that stuff is coming to us now way more than it is like we're just doing it ourselves. So I just want to take that in consideration too, because it's never just going to be them, it's going to be all these other groups too.
I'm going to give my 2 cents worth here, since that we've got a quorum and I'm not going to vote. But I'm all for this, because mainly for the kids, mainly for the kids. Because anytime you can take a kid and get him off the road or get off the streets, you're doing a job. You're doing a job. And we've got parks, in my opinion, we've got parks all over the city that have lights and have noise. And I'm sure we've had complaints from time to time. But there's a trade-off, in my opinion, on that, as far as why we do it. And it's for the kids. It's for the kids. Now, my 2 cents worth is I would, if I could, I would vote for this mainly because of the time factor. Because these teams, whether it be soccer, whether it be, it doesn't matter, rugby, it doesn't matter. People are coming from a ways, and people got to stay somewhere. And you don't ever know the time that everybody's going to be out. So I think a month is perfect. Now, I'm going by this gentleman's idea, which is, I think, is an exceptional idea. Moving on, if this is a problem, if we find this to be a problem, the ideal thing would be to bring your constituents or who's ever constituents here to the Parks Board meetings. We have citizens' comments, and these guys know I take it serious because I ask about it every month, and move it along. But in my opinion, my humble opinion, my vote would be for the yes on this. So, any other questions? Yes, Mr. Barry.
I'm just going to kind of go back because I ran tournaments for years up here, and time constraint is just at a must here with you, Randy. I understand. Miss Rathard, I totally agree with you, and Mr. Hessen. I'm going to vote to approve this tournament that evening, but yeah, maybe look at some things you can do to help the citizens a little bit
Absolutely.
on this first one.
Absolutely.
And
You
then,
have my personal commitment that
Yes,
I will meet with Jill and whoever
Yes,
Alderman
sir.
Robertson
Yes, sir.
wants us to meet with.
Yes, sir.
Because it's an issue that we have to address if it's an
Yes, sir.
issue. I mean, I just got an email today about the women's broom ball, and we're trying to find, we are being noticed. We've said this when we were trying to get the fundraising. You guys built us an incredible facility, and it's getting noticed across the country, and in some cases across the world.
Yes,
So
sir.
be ready.
And-
And if this is an issue, we're gonna have to get ready to deal with it.
And like you said, Mr. Hoffman, when you put a tournament together, you can't just stop on a dime and in a week make changes to it, because
That's correct.
I had 100 and something teams up here for my tournament for years with the help of these guys, and I understand the concerns as well for the citizens here, but
I do have one other question as far as who you will have there. My old daddy used to have a saying that 99% of people are fine, the other 1% are knuckleheads. And I know in any given situation, you're gonna have knuckleheads. So are you sure you got enough folks out there to control the knuckleheads?
We hope so. I will say this, again,
put it
the
differently.
roller hockey community does a pretty good job of self-policing. The hockey community in general does. Not speaking, I know that community because I've been in it for the last 20 years. We will have a large contingency of board members that will be out there. There'll be coaches that will be out there as well. So I think we'll be in pretty good shape. We will have to work with Parks Department and probably try to get some local representation out there as well.
Okay.
To just make sure. Yep.
Yeah, she's already said.
Can't
she
beat a
would.
hockey mom, I promise you.
No?
They will say their mind and set them straight.
Have any more questions, this gentleman?
I move to accept.
All in-
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Be happy to.
I have a first by Ms. Rathers.
I'll second it. So the motion is, we approve this tournament based on the fact that Jill, myself, or anyone else from the board, and someone from your association meet and address the concerns as much as possible from the citizens.
Yes.
That's correct?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Since it's your motion, restate it again.
I move that we accept the tournament application from High Hall for the 24-hour tournament, contingent upon the fact that a representative from the Parks Board and from High Hall meet with the residents around the. I have to restate it all over again because I didn't turn on the mic. All right. Andy's going to repeat it.
A motion to approve contingent upon meeting with constituents with Parks Board and Hendersonville Inline Hockey Association.
That's it, what he said.
I have a second by Ms. Ted. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's yours.
Thank you all.
Mr. Robinson,
I really do
certainly
appreciate
do
it.
appreciate you coming, and that was a,
Will you let her know?
yes,
And
please.
I'll give her my number. Yeah, all right.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank
Before
you, sir.
y'all leave, are we through back there? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Head, second, Mr. Perry. All in favor say aye.